Okay. Just a brief word about our mission and vision. Um, the formal mission of the seminary is to assist the church in equipping pastors and leaders for orthodoxy and orthopraxy rooted in Reformed Catholicity. Um, this mission, I think, captures quite well what we try to do at RES. We do not see ourselves as a standalone institution separate from the church. You just come to us to get credentials and then you can go plug into whatever church you want to. We really see ourselves as an assistant to the local church, particularly smaller local churches, where we're able to help local churches equip pastors and leaders for service in the local community without having to leave their location, without having to leave jobs, uproot, uh, get kids out of school, sell homes, or all those sorts of problems with residential programs. You're able to stay in that local church. So we're wanting to do this in concert with the local church and trying to preserve our orthodoxy and right practice, our orthopraxy, within that reformed vision of theology and life. So that's our mission. And how that gets expressed in that vision is that we're not doing this alone. As assisting churches, we see ourselves as actually second to the church. So we are church centric in that respect. And we try to bring faithful, experienced pastors and educators alongside those local churches. And to do that, we are going to offer robust biblical and theological studies and have principally pastors, your local pastor in many cases, be your pastoral mentor. CJ will talk more about that later. But again, we want it to be place-based so that our students are where they live, worship, and serve in the context of their church community rather than being uprooted from that. And so church-centered and place-based really is the key to our vision that way. And we want it to be for the Lord, for the church, for the world. That's our tagline. And that's why it's important for people like Sansonich and all the churches overseas to be part of that, to be in our vision for serving the churches wherever they are around the world. Okay. So turn this now to CJ.
Thank you, Dr. Atwood, and welcome to all of you. We're excited to tell you about the work that's going on at RES and how you might come to participate. I'll cover a couple different sections here as we move along, and talking a little bit about the degrees that we offer here at RES. So the seminary offers these 3-degree programs, the Master of Divinity being our flagship degree. The main focus of our work is to assist the church in raising up ministers and pastors. And so this is a 90-credit MDiv. An applicant will come to us ideally and usually having completed a bachelor's already, and then enroll for this Master of Divinity program. We also offer a Master of Christian Studies. That's a 36-hour program that will be of great service if you're not targeting the pastoral ministry, but want to grow in your knowledge of Bible and theology, potentially serve as a ruling elder in your congregation, or serve in a Christian school. This could be a useful tool for you, as well as the Certificate in Christian Studies, the 18-credit option for, again, further training in Bible and theology. So those are the 3 different degree programs that we offer. Almost all of the classes are going to end up overlapping. We do have a few that are going to be specific to the Master of Divinity, and the MDiv is the only one that's going to end up requiring the biblical languages. But by and large, it's the same subject matter at different levels based on your particular calling. So here's a chart that shows the various requirements for the different degrees. You can see a large focus in Bible and theology. We do have a few electives sprinkled out through each of the subject areas and 1 or 2 overall electives, but by and large, this is the curriculum as it's laid out for you there. And you can see in the columns there to the right of the screen the different requirements and what's optional in the MCS and CCS programs. Should also mention that it is an option for you to come in and test the waters as a non-matriculating student. If you're admitted to the program but haven't yet targeted one of those degree programs, uh, you're able to take classes in biblical languages, biblical counseling, and sometimes this fulfills a particular ordination need or a need in a counseling role in a church that may not require a full program, or simply might just reflect your own interest in wanting to go deeper in some of these areas. Snapshot of the academic year. We break our year into 4 terms, 3 of which are 10 weeks long with an 11th week for exams. And then in the summertime, double speed, 6 weeks of classes, 1 more week of exam there in Pentecost term. We've named them after the church calendar and largely tracks maybe more closely with the church calendar than other academic institutions, hopefully allowing you to budget your time and come to participate on a different pace and schedule, as many of our students do have full-time jobs, families serving actively in the church. We found this to be a good and helpful schedule for busy lives. Healthy break in an Advent and Christmas season, and again in the summer. And then as summer comes to an end, we tend to offer some jumpstart classes, either with biblical languages or potentially research and writing, as many of our students return to academia after a number of years away. But this is the picture then, the overall snapshot of what a year looks like for RES. The model that we're using often goes under this name of blended learning. We're tying together the online instruction that's the core of what we provide through the academic instructors, as the classes take place really just like this, over Zoom, as instructors from all over the country and really around the world come and provide that academic instruction that blends in with your own personal work, research, and study. We'll talk a little bit more about the resources we have, such as the Logos Bible Study Program, to make up for the fact that we don't have a physical library. And even if we did, you're not here to take advantage. And so we have several ways to help with that. And then the third part of that would be the local mentoring and ministry, where you are hopefully finding connections in your local church to have opportunities to use what you're learning in the classroom to benefit and bless your local congregation, as well as receiving that mentoring, spiritual development and discernment, life coaching from your pastoral mentor, ideally your own pastor. At the heart of what we do is this vision for church-centered, place-based learning. So Dr. Atwood already talked about how we see ourselves as serving the church and in no way in competition with or replacing the need to be connected with and rooted in the local church. And so that means we leave you where you are. This is place-based education, means you learn from where you're at. You don't need to come to us. And in fact, that would actually involve you losing a very important connection with your pastor and your people, that we're glad to leave you in that place where you can best learn and grow. So we have the advantage to offer the classes from a number of pastors throughout the denomination, but you stay rooted in your own community. The classroom that we use, like I said, does take place much like this. We're using live, synchronous Zoom meetings. So you're not just consuming content that's pre-recorded or coming off the shelf to you. Your professors are going to be teaching you, interacting with you face to face. We also value this active learning process. So rather than simply lecturing at you, whether live or not, we want this interactivity to be the hallmark of what we do. So sometimes that's described as something of a flipped classroom model, where you'll do steady reading preparation, and then the time spent online with the instructor is highly interactive. You're being challenged, you're hearing from other fellow students and instructor. There's back and forth, there's question and answer, there's discussion that engages you in that work of learning. To that end, we've invited Sammy Hargrave, one of our current students, to come give you a snapshot of what the student experience is like. And so I'll go ahead and ask Sammy to go ahead and step in at this point and share what he's experienced during his time at RES. Sammy, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here. So my name's Sammy Hargrave. Just quick background. I'm a MDiv student at RES. I'm finishing up my first year. I am in Wichita, Kansas, where I serve as a pastoral resident at a CREC church here. I also work full time, and I decided to throw seminary on top of all of that. So CJ kind of asked for a week in a student's life, and I'll do my best to go through that. So generally we're meeting in classes 1 to 2 hours for every class a week. So there's usually 1 to 2. I'm in 3 classes this semester, so that's three days a week that where I'm attending in Zoom with discussion. And so that's kind of the highlight of the week. And then the rest of the week is really spent preparing for those classes. So CJ was talking about the interactive element, and a lot of your reading and writing throughout the week is really spent to be prepared to join into discussion within the classes. So whatever you're reading, you're coming with questions, you're coming with ideas and comments of what you've thought through. And then generally you're putting that all together into some form of paper or sermon or something like that that's presented at the end of the year along with your finals. So that's a lot of what my week looks like, is reading, writing, preparing for these classes. That's the school part. The second part that I'm doing a lot is working with my mentor through everything. So one of the things that I love about RES is the mentorship program. I believe we're required to meet with them once a month. CJ can correct me if I'm wrong. I think I meet with mine once a week, and we're always discussing what we're going through in class, what I'm learning, um, and then also personal life, how my family's doing and things of that nature. And what I've loved about that is there's been multiple times where I've had a class assignment or something where I've been working on something and I go and meet with my pastor and he's like, well, that's really good. Let's have you teach a men's night about that. Or let's have you preach this sermon you've been working on in a class. So for our church, we've really seen it as a way to help me use what I've learned in seminary to benefit the church, which has been a huge blessing and I've loved it. Part of what could be seen as a drawback of the online model is that we're not face to face in person with fellow students. And so what has been really good about that is the students at RES have created strong fellowship through online modes. We have group chats that go all the time that are talking about what we read. Our online interface, Populi, has discussion boards that we're constantly using to discuss our assignments or our readings or whatever it may be for that class. And then we also do Capella, which is a chapel once a month. And then I'm looking forward, this will be my first year going to the Refresh conference. So every summer we do a big conference where we all get together in person and see each other and enjoy good fellowship and learn. So I believe that's in Fort Worth this year at All Saints, and I'm really looking forward to that. So it's good, it's great. It is difficult to be in seminary, and I have 2 small children and a wife, and I work full time and bivocational at our church. So it's not an easy task ever, but God is good. I think it's very important to be good with time management, be good with knowing your priorities, knowing what your ministry is first and foremost, which is your family, and then your church, and then your school, and making sure you prioritize those accordingly. It takes sacrifice. My wife is putting the girls to bed right now as I am talking to y'all. It's 7:30 in Wichita. I've had many mornings where I've woken up at 5 a.m. because I know I have homework due that I wasn't able to get to the night before because we had an elders meeting or something like that. So just being good at time management on that part about juggling everything. It's important, it's good, and it's good to know your priority. So I think that's all I have, CJ. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted me to add in there.
No, that's great. Thank you for sharing. And we'll have a time for questions here shortly. And those of you who have questions for Sammy can direct those to him. And also, he's willing to follow up with you afterwards. If you have further questions, you can reach out to me and I can make that connection. But thank you for giving us that window into your life of a student there at RES. Sammy also mentioned the mentoring program. So we'll jump there next. This is a key component, really an essential component of what we're doing as a seminary. What we're able to provide are these online classes, but what we can't do is provide the lived ministerial experience and wisdom that your pastor is able to pour into you through intentional time spent together, uh, pursuing what it means to be a pastor. So as for the RES mentor program, thinking about who can be a mentor, the ideal mentor is going to be your own pastor, someone who's known you and your family for 3 years or more, who has that significant relationship. You're not just a face in the crowd. You're known to him. He's known to you. We're looking for a man who has been educated, ideally something like an MDiv. There are a number of ways to accomplish this. That's just sort of the thumbnail sketch of what theological education might look like. And we want an experienced man, someone who's been in ministry for at least 5 years to serve that role as mentor. We don't require that the mentor be a man ordained in the CREC, but we do expect that he's theologically aligned with the vision that we're pursuing as a seminary, so that he's in basic agreement with creedal orthodoxy from the Nicene and Apostles' creeds, and not actively hostile to the Reformed tradition that marks our course of instruction. What do you and your mentor do together? Well, a mentor is that figure in your life who's taking the lead for discipleship and encouragement. You'll be receiving some of that, of course, through the classes, but in terms of personal shepherding of your spiritual formation, this is the role of the mentor. We want you and your mentor to have that unhurried, guided reflection time where you can sit and talk together and hear stories of pastoral ministry, throw questions at him, and not feel any pressure that this is somehow going to be on the test, an exam, or will roll into a paper that you need to write. No, this is time spent at the feet of a wise shepherd. Hopefully, that also involves ministry opportunities. As Sammy mentioned, it can be more challenging in different situations, but that is the goal, that you take what you're learning and put it into practice for the local church and are able to receive feedback from your mentor on how things went and what can improve, what can change, and what was a blessing to the people that you serve with. The mentor also communicates with the seminary. They file a report each term that basically summarizes the meetings that you've had. Again, Sammy mentioned that we require that at least monthly. Weekly is even better to pursue that relationship together. And then we receive updates on our end because we want to know that the work that we're calling you to do in terms of your studies is having good effects in your life, in your family's life, in your church's life. And if there ever become issues in your life or ministry that you need to take a break, or if things come to light that make it challenging to continue, that's an opportunity for us to find that out in a regular, ongoing way, to watch over and shepherd your soul, the seminary, and the church through that means. A couple of questions that usually come my way about mentoring. We're able to help assist you find a mentor if for some reason your pastor can't serve. Obviously, he's the gold standard, the man who knows you and is serving you already. But if you don't have that man in mind, if you've recently moved, if you've changed churches, come to new theological convictions, we do have some students who have recently found the CREC and come knocking on our door and are in the midst of something like that sort of transition. We're able to assist with that process. Sometimes students have needed to change mentors, again, because of a move or taking a pastoral call. And that's part of my role to assist you with that transition as well. We do have a couple situations where it just makes sense for the mentoring responsibilities to be shared, where there will be one key mentor listed, but at times Another elder in your church may take one of the required meetings. He has a particular expertise or gifting that is of service to you, as well as going the other way when there are multiple students being mentored in one locale and they're able to meet together for ministry. That's a blessing as well. And usually one or two meetings can be rolled into that. We do want it to be primarily one-on-one, but there's also some flexibility on that front. And again, as I already mentioned, this mentor does not need to be in the CREC, but he does need to be friendly to the Reformed tradition. So that's a snapshot of mentoring here at RES. Resources and events. There are a number of things that we try to do to fill out the student experience. Sammy brought up a few of those, the discussion groups, both on and offline, that students are involved in. The monthly capella is usually a lecture or a talk or a presentation, something like a chapel service as best we can do online, and that happens monthly, usually fourth Saturday. You're welcome to come to those if you have an interest in the seminary. You can start attending those now. The announcements go out online and on the newsletter. We'd love to have you join us for those. We've had some wonderful speakers come and talk to us at that event. And then the annual retreat. This year, we're now adding an in-person class with that. We're delighted to have a pastoral theology course on pastoral wisdom as a part of the June retreat. But just as much as the schoolwork, it's also time for fellowship, to get to know one another, to have some of that wonderful face-to-face time that's all too rare in the normal life of the seminary. In terms of the resources that we have, our students do have access to a Logos library, scholars package there that's put together by Logos, as well as then opening up the entire Logos library for purchase. And sometimes that is the best way to access and purchase some of the required resources. The Populi software is your home base for interacting with RES. I think you'll get a little bit of a taste of that later on, and Lauren will be able to explain some of that to you as well. And at this point, I will go ahead and hand it on over to Lauren to give you a sense of the tuition and fees structure of the seminary. Thank you for your attention. Lauren, take it away.
Yes. So let's talk costs here. We do our best to make this affordable for students who are working alongside taking these classes. These are our basic tuition and fees. All degree related courses are $200 per credit. And that's going to be across the board. For some of our courses, we offer listeners passes, so our enrichment courses that we offer to church partners, and those can be taken for reduced cost. Those will generally be 1 credit courses. And if you want to audit a course, those fees are there as well. Let me see here. And church partners, so if your church joins our church partnership program, which I will talk about in just a second, that fee is cut in half. So it ends up being $100 per credit rather than $200. Our main way that students can receive discounted tuition, we don't really offer scholarships, but we do offer this program. So if you are a church that would be interested in joining this, or if you're a student that thinks your church may be interested, this is kind of a brief rundown of the program. We ask churches to contribute one amount for 3 years, depending on congregation size, so that smaller congregations can still join that may have tighter budgets. So that number is $5,000 per year for 3 years for congregations of 200 members or more, and $2,500 for congregations of 200 members or less. The benefit to the student is that they get 50% off tuition, as I mentioned there. And that can be a great, take your money twice as far in that sense, in paying for tuition. Church partners also get church enrichment courses free. The way that they're able to participate in those courses is through our listeners pass. A listeners pass gives you access, kind of like here in the webinar, where you could be just listening. You could write in the chat if you'd like. You're not taking it for credit. You won't have work graded, but you can listen in on all of the lectures. And we have a lot of congregations taking advantage of that So we've had church enrichment courses on the eldership. And so some of our church partners have sent men that they are considering for eldership to listen to our eldership course and get some of that knowledge. In the past summer, we've had, and again, this summer, we're going to have counseling courses as our church enrichment course. So if you have congregants that are interested in counseling, they can just listen in. If you're a student and your church is involved in this, you can have congregation, members of your congregation listen along to some of the courses you're taking for credit, and that can be kind of fun as well. So those courses are free for church partners. Not every course that we offer is going to be free for church partners, but those specific designated church enrichment courses we offer. And then you get discounts on other courses as a student. I'm going to turn it over to Roy to talk about one of our new initiatives, and that is the Global Church Associates Program. This is another way we're trying to include the global church while making costs still affordable.
Okay, the Church Associates program for the global church is a new program. We're just launching it now, and so this is something particularly for somebody like Sansonich in the Ukraine and other churches internationally that they'll want to connect with. What we're basically trying to do is to take those churches that are outside of North America or the top 40 in GDP. So all the countries that are outside that and are committed to the Reformed Seminary's mission and vision can become associates, and this will give them free access to the church enrichment courses that we just described. So that's basically like becoming a church partner, but they don't have to spend any money because their economy is such that that's just too much for them to do. But the other big thing that we're going to try to do is to make regionally adjusted tuition and fees available to them. So, for example, if you look at this chart, you'll see the U.S. as 100% of the GDP level. Students would pay $600 in annual fees generally, and about $2,800 in half-time tuition. But the world average is 8% of the US GDP, which means if we translated that into US dollars, that would be the equivalent of them having to pay $48 or $224 instead of $2,800. So you can see the huge difference there. And if we get over into places like in Africa or India, the Asian Pacific, and so on, it gets down as low as 1%. So what we want to be able to do is to offer students in their churches basically this opportunity to pay a regionally adjusted tuition that is affordable to them based on their economy, rather than them trying to pay US fees, which they could simply never do. To offset this, we're inviting churches in North America and in the more wealthy countries to become Global Church Associates sponsors to help cover some of these fees for the seminary. But we want to step forward and make this possible for the international church community. It still will have limited enrollment. They have to qualify like regular students and so on. But we want that to be something that is a blessing to the global church, makes our resources from the seminary available to as many people as possible who are qualified around the world, and to benefit from all of the good things that the seminary is providing in our classes and lectures and chapel and so on. So we're excited about this getting started and hope that we will see a number of churches becoming church associates at no cost to them and being able to take advantage of these benefits. So I'll leave it there for now.
All right, I'm now going to take you through a sample application. So if you are thinking about, well, this is all very interesting to me, I'd like to get started or talk about what does the admissions process look like? I'm going to show you a completed application that'll walk you, and I'll walk you through kind of what we're looking for as we have, as we're looking at applicants. So let me open this here, and I will walk you through a sample application form, what yours might look like. This student is John Calvin, and he is applying for the MDiv program, which I'm sure he doesn't need, but just as our sample here. Obviously, we'll want some basic dates from you, information about you, your occupation, and your education level. It's important to us to know what you have done before. I think as CJ mentioned, we are looking for candidates who already have a bachelor's, and if you don't already have a bachelor's, we're looking for some equivalent experience that will show us that you're prepared, because these are graduate level courses. It's not going to be easy on you. So let us know any college credit that you've had at all in that box right there. We will want to know information about your church as well, your pastor's name and contact information, and if you are serving at your church, or even if you are just a lay person, because we're talking about you in the context of the local church, of course. And so that's where they are. If you're applying for the MDiv program, you will nominate a mentor from the beginning. And as CJ said, if you don't know who your mentor might be, or you need some help finding a mentor, you can, I don't believe it's on here, but you can ask us as you're preparing this application. Just let us know your situation, and maybe we can help you out there. There are a couple of documents that we'll look for as part of your application. We need a recent photograph, so show us your face and who you are. Other things that we'll want from you is a couple paragraphs telling us who you are, where you've come from, what you are interested in, and why you are applying to RES. Probably be a little bit longer than Calvin's here, but something along these lines, so that we can kind of get to know you and your intent in joining the program. Give us a sample of your best writing. It doesn't have to be Calvin's Institutes, but just your best work. Anything theological that you've written is helpful for us to kind of see how you're thinking about theology, but some of you will have work from past degrees, maybe that have nothing to do with theology, but show us that you can write and think and put a paragraph together. Then we also want a financial statement letting us know how you plan to pay for seminary, and also if you're getting any outside support, that's helpful for us to know. You will want to include a pastoral reference. This is also good if it's somebody that's known you for quite a while and can speak to certain areas of your life, including your work ethic, spiritual maturity, things like that. I kept this as an example of, you must give us a valid email for your pastor, otherwise the reference may not send. Obviously, there is no Will Farrell at genevachurch.com, so this bounced. If this does happen, I will send you a little email that says, please update, so that we can get that in. And if you have any master's level credits to be considered for transfer from another theological school, let us know at that time, and then we'll need to, that'll initiate a process of evaluating your transfer credits and deciding which, if any, will transfer into your degree. We can't process this application until we get that pastoral reference, and if you have told us that you went to college anywhere, we're going to need those transcripts sent officially from your university. So you can't just send me it in an email and say, trust me, this is the transcript. Got to get them straight from the source. So that is going to be that application. There's a $50 application fee to help us with the time to process it. And once that's paid, we will begin looking at the application there. All right. And then I think our next slide is just Q&A. So I don't know that we need to put it up on the screen, but if anyone has questions, I'll let you say anything else you'd like to say, Dr. Atwood, and then maybe we can move on to that.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. Yeah, let's just open it up for some Q&A. I'm sure there's been things that have been covered that you might have had questions and want to follow up on. So please go ahead and shout out any questions you have. Yes, Joseph.
First off, thank y'all for taking the time to give us this information. It really is helpful, and so first off, I appreciate that. The two questions I have, y'all mentioned earlier about a non-matriculating student. So the one that, if I remember correctly, one that has submitted an application but has not yet determined the degree or route in which they're going to go through. So the courses available, I think y'all mentioned biblical counseling and things like that. If a matriculating student is attending those courses, would they be considered just a listener, or are they going through the process, attending those courses, and do they receive credit, or will it be almost similar to a listener?
Yeah, good question. And it can vary. It could be all of those things. If you're wanting to take one course at a time, you're really not ready to be in a program per se, but you think you might in the future, you might take a course for credit that you would hope to apply in the future if you do find yourself going for one of the degree programs. So you could take it for credit. You could also audit it. You would be admitted as a regular student, and that would be the question of what you're going to take and how much of it you're going to take. So we do have some folks who take, for example, pastors who really didn't do well in their biblical languages, say, coming back and saying, I really need to beef up my Hebrew, and I'm going to just jump into that. Well, they're not needing the degree; they're just needing those courses. So they will sign up to take those courses as regular credit students, um, but they won't be pursuing the MDiv or may already have it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And the last question I have is regarding the mentorship. So I think Mr. Bowen may have mentioned it, and I'm in terms of circumstances, but I am relatively new to my church. I've been attending Trinity Reform for about 3 months, so I've known them for over a year now, intermittently. And so I've known the elders there for about a year and a half, but my wife and I just became members. I know one of the requirements listed was that the pastor know the attendant student for 3 years or more. And so I was wondering kind of what was the left and right limits regarding their familiarity or their personal relationship with the student, if that was a hard number, or if there was circumstances which permitted a student to attend even though it wasn't maybe for 3 years or more.
CJ, you want to take that?
Sure. Yes, the 3 years is the desired number, but we do recognize that that's not always feasible. So usually we'll be in conversation with you and your pastor to determine how the relationship has gone, sort of what is the status. That's very different if someone's relatively brand new or if they're had regular interactions, if they live several hours away from the church and it's a rare opportunity they'll actually be face to face. So we'll press in for a little bit more detail in terms of what that looks like. In certain cases where the relationship is newer, we may say, go ahead and take some classes in the MCS or CCS degree program as you get to know the church a little bit better. And when you and the pastor there think that the relationship is at a great point where they can confidently recommend you and have a good knowledge of who you are, can make the transition to the MDiv program. So those are some of the options that we explore in cases where that long-term relationship just isn't there for whatever reason.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And I said it was the last question, and this is for sure the last question. And my apologies. I know other attendees have other questions to ask. The biblical counseling courses. I know Mr. Bowen and I, we previously discussed it based off my prior experience with Masters University and the biblical counseling, their ACBC association. Does y'all's seminary associated with that, or is that do y'all teach like a nouthetic counseling, or what? I guess framework. Because I know there's Jay Adams books referenced in some of y'all's books, and so I just wanted to ask that for clarifying.
Yeah, I can maybe speak to this from my knowledge of our area coordinator for Cogville. He uses ACBC and CCEF That's his training, so he has those certifications. We're not formally associated with them, but some of our instructors are either certified or have been trained in those organizations.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you. I greatly appreciate y'all answering my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions?
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah, Micah.
Thank you. Thank you for spending the time with us tonight to, help us understand your program. My question is the question that you probably get every time you do this, which is accreditation,
Mhm.
right? I'm considering two routes with the PCA or CREC, and just trying to think about that in light of the PCA, who may uphold, the accreditation a bit more than the CREC. Can you speak to that and where you're at? I've read your stuff online, but I was just curious about that. Thank you.
That's a good question. And the short answer is we are not accredited, and we really couldn't be at this point anyway, because we're a new enough institution to where we don't have the history necessary for an accrediting body to be able to sorry, this program is asking me if my language is English. I'm not sure it is. When you start talking about accreditation, you change into a different language. But the issue of accreditation usually requires, I think, a minimum of 2 to 3 years of operation before you could even apply, and you have to have graduates. So we're not there at that point. But we're also not there sort of philosophically at this point either. One of the things we've witnessed, I mean, I'm a graduate of Westminster Seminary. Other guys have gone to a variety of places, but one of the things that we can say is that what we've witnessed is over the years, accreditation has tended to drive institutions in particular directions, and it is not the church driving it. It is standards of accreditation, and those are typically imposed by the Department of Education, because they ultimately, through CHIA, certify the accreditors. And so you have this sort of awkward moment in the life of Christian institutions, higher ed generally, and seminaries in particular, where some of the things that should be driving our principles in accreditation are out of our hands. And we want our seminary to be essentially accredited by the church, so that if our churches will not take the men who graduate, well, that means we shouldn't exist, right? I mean, we're not producing people that the churches want to hire and trust and commit themselves to. So we really want the church to be the thing that certifies and backs what we're doing, more than having accreditation. And frankly, if you think of all the accredited institutions out there, probably 3/4 or more of them are theologically liberal and even potentially apostate, and yet they're accredited. And so you can go there and get your accredited degree, and then you've really not received what the church should be asking for. So it's that tension we're in right now, where it's a big issue for transferability, for all those kinds of things. It is a problem. If you were hoping to go on and do doctoral work, say, somewhere else, that would be a challenge at this point. But if you're looking at ministry, in most churches, in fact, will be sympathetic to you having done something in seminary. If your denomination, like the PCA, requires an accredited degree, well, that's a standard they're putting in there, but that's just not one we'll be able to meet anytime soon. So that would affect that. There are some friendly groups out there that we might be able to see you have the opportunity to transfer in with some of the credits, that they could look at what you've studied, the people you studied under, see the syllabus and so on, and they might accept your credits so that you could transfer it to there, but there's no guarantee that that can happen. And every institution has the right to say no. And accrediting bodies don't like a lot of transfers from unaccredited institutions. So there's pressure for them not to do that, but they do.
Thank you for answering the question. Two follow-up hard questions, I guess. In terms of the accreditation issue, two questions. How long have you guys been in existence for? And have you had any graduates at this point that have gone for ordination and have been denied based on the status of the school in terms of the accreditation?
Right.
Thank you.
The seminary started technically, I guess, back in 2021 or 2 as Reformation Bible Institute in Oregon City. But RES itself was a merger of a different model with RBI. And so we merged together that plan, and what we have now is what RBI merged into. And so we have only 1 or 2 students that came over from that program. And so we technically started RES in 2023, the fall of 2023. So we're just now closing in on the end of our 2nd year. So we have no graduates to this point. And so we've had no one complete the MDiv and try to become ordained or seek licensure or anything like that from our program. And so we simply don't have that track record yet there. So
Thank you so much.
I wish we did, but we're just at that stage
that,
of development.
praise the Lord, though. Like, we need more of this. So I completely affirm your, Van Hooser talks about a TIS approach where we bring theology back to the church. I commend you guys for doing so. So yeah,
that's just really crucial. I should say, may not be aware, but I served as a accreditation commissioner for the Transnational Association of Christian Colleges and Schools, which is a national accrediting body. So I know the accrediting world pretty well, and so I know its strength and its weaknesses, which is why I've kind of like, I think I'm more inclined for us not to seek it at this point than to seek it.
Thanks again. Appreciate it.
You bet. Other questions? Don't see any more hands. You're welcome to do repeats if you have them.
They're going to let Sammy off easy, I guess. But we are right at time, so we did quite well.
I had a question, so it's still available.
Sure.
What is the fastest that you can do the program and versus the slowest, and what does that look like? My understanding is that it's something like 6 years if you were to do the 1 class per term, but I just wanted to hear it from you guys.
Yeah, so most of our students right now are half-time, taking 2 classes a term, and that would be the 6-year program.
Okay.
But beginning, I think this next fall or shortly thereafter, we will be offering as many as 4 courses a term, which means conceivably you could do it full-time. Right now we have no full-time students, but you heard Sammy saying he had 3 classes. He's still awake, he's still vertical, and he's still married, so that's good. He's been able to do that. But being bivocational or having to work full-time and do a full-time thing is pretty tough. But if you are able to pull away and go full-time, it's conceivable we could have as early as this next year 4 courses a term. I don't know in terms of our sequencing if that will actually be fully doable full-time, but we'll be getting closer and closer because we're adding courses each year. As new cohorts of students come in, we have to keep adding on. So That's part of, again, being newish in a younger program, but we will be there very shortly, just because we have that, body of students coming through.
Great, great, thanks.
Lauren or CJ, you want to add anything more to that?
Yeah,
I
and
guess-
once we do scale up the number of courses, that'll put the certificate as something that could be completed in a year, 2 years for the MCS, and 3.5 for the full MDiv, if you're able to take it full time. So that'll be year 18 months will be nearing that point, Lord willing.
So it sort of seems to me that if you sign up for the MDiv, you're kind of in it to win it. You're not going to change trains. You gotta stick with this because of the status that you just described for a lot of good reasons, obviously. Is that a decent way to characterize it?
I don't know. I like the poetry. I'm not sure. The the issue is sometimes, though, out of a person's hands. For example, the questions of finances, questions of changes in responsibility at, say, a church or a move that has to take place. There's a variety of reasons that some students have to put it on pause, or just even drop out for a while, or just, they've discovered for themselves that they're like, in talking more with my pastor, it's like my gifts may be in a different area and I should refocus, recalibrate a little bit. So there's a variety of reasons why people will choose to do a different direction. And I think that's one of the healthy things about the mentorship program, is because we really want this to not be just get a credential and now you can put out your shingle. This is really the call of God for a life of service and ministry in his church. And we want that to be something that is really intensely felt and blessed by God because of the faithfulness of those acting in those roles and taking those responsibilities. So I think this is the sort of thing where when the ministry is the issue, there can be all kinds of changes that happen because of different callings and different realizations of qualification and so on. So, but otherwise, I think most of the guys so far that have come in are really committed and really eager and enthusiastic and bright and hardworking and have that sense of passion and calling about what they're doing, and that's very exciting to see. So there's some great students here. Even Sammy.
I'll go ahead and add there's not a toggle on your student page where you can say, oh no, the languages, they look hard. I'm going to switch down a program. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm going to go for the big program after all. But much of that can happen in conversation with your mentor, with your church, and with Lauren as the registrar. We have had students transition between programs, so that's certainly a possibility. The degrees don't stack. You're not awarded as soon as you hit 18 hours, you don't get a certificate, you don't get a master's of Christian studies and then an MDiv. But there is the potential for changing the program based on life circumstance and calling.
Okay, that actually helps a lot. Kind of gives it's nice to know what your maneuverability is as you look at trying this out. And even that is, yeah, because you're not going to be necessarily transferring to the Greenville PCA seminary, but there is smaller levels of transfer within the program. I was also kind of curious about the eldership course. Do people normally take that like before they become elders or after, or does it really matter? Like, is there a kind of an established thing there?
It's really designed to bless current elders as well as onboard aspiring elders or those who aren't even sure. We've had some churches where they had encouraged the men in the congregation to just consider taking it because it might help them thinking about just their Christian life and walk, that you would hope all men aspire to it because of what it means about faithfulness and managing families well and having, a passion to teach and to give hospitality, all the qualifications are things you'd want all the men in your church to have. And so it's helpful that way. And they can also help them to think about who they would like as an elder, even if they don't feel called. They now have a better sense of who they might vote for or encourage to pursue that calling. So it's open to all that way.
Great, thank you.
All right. Well, I think we're a little bit over time, and I want to respect our schedule and your time commitments. So let me conclude by thanking you all for joining us. Delight to get to meet some of you and to have this interaction. We hope it's been a blessing to you. If you do have any questions whatsoever, feel free to reach out to Lauren, CJ, or myself. Again, any questions you have. Lauren's posted the email address there, and that should get to us as appropriate. So again, thank you for your time. God bless you as you look at this opportunity for yourself, for your own callings, and your service to the church, Christ, and his kingdom. So God bless you all.